Okay, y'all, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to talk about, and I don't want to waste one single moment. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Increase the sound.
Okay.
More volume. Can you hear it?
I'm not paying attention.
All right.
Mute if you can, and we'll go ahead and move forward. My name is Kathy Barnard. I'm the Alumni Director and a proud Vandal alumna myself. And I want to welcome all of you to this latest edition of Cup of Joe. It's just great to see so many familiar faces. I want to make a few introductions before we jump in. Provost Tori Lawrence is with us today, as is Science Dean Ginger Carney, Lieutenant Colonel Ross Warren, who's the new commander of Chrisman Battalion here at the University of Idaho, and a Vandal himself, so he's come home to serve even more, which I appreciate. Dean of Students Emeritus Bruce Pittman, Don Burnett, the Law Dean Emeritus and former interim president. And I'm sure if I've forgotten anyone, I'll try to fit you in as we go along. It's in my Brady Bunch view of you all. I can only see so many at a time, but I'll try to add in introductions as we go along. Before we get started, I want to thank our program sponsor, which is Payne West Insurance. Payne West is the leading broker in the Pacific Northwest, and it's where Vandals can get home, auto, all sorts of insurance. And every new policy purchased supports the work of the University of Idaho Alumni Association. And thanks to Payne West, everyone on the call tonight is automatically entered into a drawing for a $50 Vandal store card. Must be present to win. So you have to stay on the call to actually win the card. As always, if you have questions for today's guest, please send them to my coworker, Christy Overfelt, raising her hand there in the chat, and we will try to get to as many as we possibly can in the time that we've got together. Okay, I think we've covered all the housekeeping things. And with that, I just want to say it's my pleasure and really a true honor to welcome Major General Erik C. Peterson, a 1986 graduate of our alma mater, to our program. So welcome, Erik. It's so good to have you here. Erik currently works in the Pentagon as the principal advisor to the Deputy Chief of Staff and the Army Chief of Staff and Vice Chief of Staff on all Army-wide equipping programs and resources. Before that, he commanded Division West of 1st U.S. Army, overseeing 5 brigades and 2 mobilization sites around the country. He received his Army commission in 1986 as a distinguished military graduate of the U of I's own Chrisman Battalion, and I know there are a number of Chrisman alumni on with us tonight. Upon graduation with degrees in geography and cartography, he was assigned to the aviation branch of the Army and completed flight school in 1987. Since then, Erik has commanded and held key positions in numerous overseas combat operations, ranging from Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm to post 9/11 operations in Afghanistan and Iran. He's qualified in 8 different military and commercial helicopters. His military awards and decorations include 3 Distinguished Service Medals, 4 Legions of Merit, 6 Bronze Stars, and many, many more, too numerous to list here for a complete list. He was inducted into the Army ROTC Hall of Fame in 2016 and received an honorary PhD from the University of Idaho in 2018. What an amazing Vandal to have with us the week of Veterans Day. I'm so glad you're here, Erik. Welcome again.
Hey, thanks much for the warm introduction, and thanks to you and the team for facilitating this and all of these other Cup of Joe engagements. It's a great opportunity to reconnect with old friends and to share our Vandal stories. Appreciate it much.
You bet. So first I want to start with a quick COVID check-in. You and yours are all well, I hope, and doing okay in the pandemic?
We are. Interestingly, not a whole lot changed for me personally. from the outset. I was in a roster of folks who were considered essential here at the Pentagon. So even though we curtailed things substantially, I've been coming to work every single day, and we're observing good protocols here. We're masking up, we're checking folks, we're keeping social distance here in the building. We've minimized the presence to only those essential. We figured out how to telework. We didn't really know how to do that, amazingly. And as for the rest of the family, everybody's hanging in there. I think they're getting a bit stir crazy. Have a daughter in college who's doing distance learning, and there's definitely some challenges with that.
Sure.
And then another daughter who's in her first year of working for the Senate, but teleworking. So kind of missing out on some of the interaction there. And we hope for an end to this Groundhog Day sooner than later.
Oh yeah, what a great way to characterize it too. Same thing every day. Oy, oy, oy. I know you were able to swing a quick trip to Idaho last month for Leadership Weekend, but I'd like to hear just what brought you to the University of Idaho in the first place? How did you end up coming here?
Well, in simple terms, it was a little bit of dumb luck and some procrastination. Honestly, I wasn't really certain about college particularly during it immediately after high school. I was dragging my feet a bit, and I spent a little bit of time on the Juneau ice field with some of the team from the former College of Mines and Earth Resources.
Maynard Miller? Was Maynard Miller one of them?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And I did that as part of a National Science Foundation program. And as I came back, that team inspired me personally with some of their work. So even though I was a little bit listless and not certain about the future, I figured I'd give a start there under their watch. And there were several members of the faculty that were part of that program. So it gave me something to look forward to. And I ended up in the U of I, and it was turned to be out to be a very fortuitous set of circumstances.
So how did you decide you wanted to have a military career? It doesn't sound like that was what you were aiming for going in.
No, in fact, I had actually had little or no interest in the military as I started college. As some may know, and certainly those who were present at the time, there's a few eyewitnesses out there in this group. My academic performance wasn't superior my first year or two, and during my sophomore year, had a little bit of a revelation that I needed to get a little bit more direction, a little more focus, and also it always had a little bit of an itch to give back in some fashion or another. My parents had been in the Peace Corps when I was young, and I did feel like there was a bit of responsibility for folks who could contribute to the greater good in one fashion or another. So those things kind of came together, and I began researching the ROTC programs at the U of I. And then while doing so, I stumbled across a particularly charismatic group of leaders in the Army ROTC program at that time. A lot of Vietnam experience there, and just some really interesting personalities. And they kind of set the hook to give it a shot.
Who was the commander then, Eric?
It was Ed Lindahl at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, Colonel Ed Lindahl, Vietnam era Special Forces officer.
Wow.
Sergeant Major Joe Griffin was also a Special Forces NCO,
Okay.
also with Vietnam experience. And they had a really, really strong program back then. So I chose to enter. Originally thought I would just join the Idaho National Guard. Then was offered a regular Army scholarship. Figured I would try that for a few years and then move on with my career. And 34 years later, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is I'm going to do. So it's been very rewarding and arguably a pretty good fit so far.
I'd say so far so good. Yeah, I think you did okay. You majored in geography and cartography. How did that inform your military career? I mean, is it baseline training? Was it something you used every day? How did that inform your career?
Yeah, fascinatingly, even though it wasn't with foresight, I use it every single day, actually.
Really?
The the curricula, geography and cartography both, um, provides a framework through which you examine and review human interaction with place. And arguably that's foundational to human competition across the globe and conflict, certainly. So I found that having a real firm grounding in people and in cultures as they interact around the globe, and how we struggle for primacy in things, the roots of human conflict, um, all have, very, very firm foundations in geography, place, space, the distribution of resources and assets, and how cultures view those and value them. Um, so it's been pretty valuable as I've tried to lead teams in some very challenging situations over the years, but it gives me a framework to examine what it is I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
The other part, I think, and maybe not unique to the specific curriculum, but I left U of I with a real enduring sense of intellectual curiosity. And I find that very, very helpful.
Sure.
The need and the desire to understand new things and concepts, and just a set of tools for which to examine those things critically, I think has been very, very helpful.
Yeah, those are skills that, all of us, as a fellow vandal, I can attest. I'm the same way. It's just like you leave here with that sense of being a lifelong learner, whether we knew that's what it was called or not. That's what we are. So that's, yeah, I hear that. I hear that. So we'll forget about that first year and a half. The last year, the last few years of your time at Idaho, how did it influence you as a leader? What sort of things did you pick up that you still use?
Probably had one of the most unique and rich set of leadership growth experiences during my experience associated with the university. Even before I set foot on campus, I was afforded the opportunity to spend some time on the Juneau ice field with Maynard Miller and his merry band. And that put me in a unique, physical, challenging environment, with a focus on scientific research. But in order to accomplish anything there, we had to overcome the environment. We had to lead teams. And even as a youngster, he provided a framework and opportunities for me to lead, sometimes probably over my head, in that challenging environment. Once I got to the university, was afforded a couple of different really, really deep, rich experiences. The first one, I'm going to embarrass and call out a colleague, teammate, and mentor, was with student services as an RA and an RA supervisor. At the time, Bruce Pittman was the dean of students, and we had we called it the A team. That leadership cluster at that time was absolutely amazing, and they challenged us. They underwrote our mistakes. They provided a framework and a lens for viewing conflict resolution, developing teams, trusting people.
Okay, so you heard something.
They trusted us through their own personal example and underwriting our challenges.
Something I needed to ask you what that was.
I'm going to ask someone to mute. Whoever's got not on mute, you're going to have to do that. Thank you. Go ahead, Eric.
So that was really really a great place to learn about people, and you combined the experiential learning with some formal training that we had, and that turned out to be hugely valuable. And then the ROTC program, a formal leadership curriculum under, again, a group of very, very charismatic leaders, and lots of opportunities to apply that in the ROTC program. So a whole series of events that all conspired to give me some pretty good opportunities for growth and reflection, and candidly, a lot of maturation.
Yeah. Well, it's that time in your life, right? So that's supposed to happen. That's what happens for all of us. Who's your favorite faculty member when you were a student, and why?
Well, I'd have to say Maynard Miller to start it off with. Just an amazing, charismatic personality.
So amazing.
Yeah, world-renowned glaciologist and climatologist, a member of the 1963 U.S. Everest expedition. For decades, led the program on the Juneau ice field. He attracted amazing talent from around the world. And unbeknownst to many of us, he was teaching us how to lead through his own personal example, and the way that he heaped responsibility and challenges on us, and trusted us. Equally inspiring in the way that he ran the College of Mines at the time, and he taught, coached, and mentored students. So.
Cool. And who are your other mentors? You mentioned Bruce, who was one of my mentors as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now, there were a couple of others in the College of Mines, George Williams and Harley Johansson, both of them ultimately department heads, geology and geography, respectively. And then again, Bruce Pittman and the A team, that Jim Bauer, his wingman there, in the student services realm, just a great team. And then the Army ROTC folks, I talked about Ed Lindahl and Joe Griffin, but Pete Dempsey and Rich Tuck were a couple of other incredible standouts. I think Rich Tuck is still there in the Moscow area. You fall in love with Palouse, and a lot of folks stay. And Pete Dempsey, I stay in touch with to this day as well.
Nice.
A really inspiring leader who's continued to challenge me and call me out and keep me honest through the years.
That's pretty amazing. I'm not sure. He must be a brave man. Call out a major general. That's awesome. I love it. Shifting gears a little bit. I know you didn't work the whole time. What were your favorite off-campus hangouts?
Yeah, that's not really hard. Mort's Club and the Capricorn Ballroom.
Oh, the Capricorn. Yes.
Yeah. Occasionally the Corner Club and John's Alley, but I made considerable donations to the Capricorn Ballroom and Mort's Club. I am a little troubled, and I know I've shared some of this with you in the past. So Mort's Club is closed or gone. It's been replaced. I don't know. I think the last thing I saw was maybe an appliance store or something like that there several years ago. The Cap burned down in the late 90s.
It's a sad day.
We tore down Galt Hall where I lived. College of Mines is gone. Neither the geography nor the cartography programs are standalone programs anymore. So I'm kind of seeing a trend. It's troubling a little bit.
I promise it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Getting a little paranoid about what's gonna be collapsed, folded up, or disappeared next. So,
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Oh, so fellow vandals, a lot of them do serve in the military. Eric, what should your fellow vandals, not military and non, especially the alumni of the ROTC programs, what should they know about today's military? How has it evolved over the years that you've been there?
I think the simplest thing I could say is it's way better than when I started, and it's getting better every day. And I can't say that with any more sincerity, and I mean it.
How so?
The people, the quality of the people, the emphasis that's placed on recruiting and training. I mean, it was good when I started, and it's really good now.
Mm-hmm.
These young people that provide, the foundation of our military today, they're smarter, they're more driven, and they're more capable than we were. All of our services are better at training and place more emphasis on it. It's much more formal. There's a premium placed on continuing education, regardless of rank, throughout all the services right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we continue to reinvest in the professionalism of our force across the board. Each service approaches it a little bit differently, but there's a common thread there, this continued professional investment in the advancement and capability of the young men and women who serve in our ranks. And it shows.
Mm-hmm.
It shows. I honestly do believe that, approaching 2 decades worth of conflict has underwritten the confidence of many of our young leaders in the military. They've had some experiences where they've had to prove their capabilities, and they're confident in it, and they're really, really good. So we talk about, and you see the technologies,
Yes.
but that's not really what defines us. We're defined by the amazing young men and women in our ranks. That's what differentiates us from all other militaries.
Mm-hmm.
That volunteer military who make a commitment to serve, whether it's one term or a career, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're just colossally impressive, and they inspire me every single day.
That's awesome. Is the military still considered, I know for time immemorial, it's been considered a great career. Is that still the case? Is that what you're hearing from the new folks coming in, that they see it as a career opportunity?
It's a mixed bag. It can be a fantastic career for folks, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Absolutely welcome and encourage young men and women who are able to serve, even if it's for a single term. We can't afford to keep everybody forever. We are a hierarchical system. We're a pyramid in structure. So we count on a certain amount of folks leaving our ranks at every single year. And that has to take place, and that's healthy. But, it doesn't have to be, those leaving because they're forced out.
Right.
Folks can take this incredible experience that they've had. They can take the leadership that they learned, the technical skills they learned, and turn those into something beneficial for other places, business, some sort of contribution in their communities. So the experience is fabulous for anyone who is capable. And then they can make a decision as to whether they want to try to pursue it as a career.
Right. Right.
I speak for one. I find it incredibly rewarding. It is demanding. It is challenging. It is trying. There are times where you think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the opportunity to go to work every day with a group of reasonably like-minded, motivated people is pretty rewarding.
Yeah.
And then to work with that group of people when you face incredible challenges and see them come together and see teams overcome great adversity and be more capable and more powerful together than as one,
Mhm.
and be able to do that day in, day out. Yeah, it's what keeps me coming to work every day.
One thing that just came to mind was support for military families, I think, has evolved over the years too, probably from the time you started in terms of the support systems in place for them. Talk a little bit about that.
We've recognized, and sometimes too late, the necessity to retain the talent that we have in the military through our tangible support of our families. Specific benefits, specific services that help compensate for some of the unique challenges of military life. It is difficult moving every few years. It places a certain strain on families and children when a parent is away for an extended period of time, particularly when they're away in harm's way.
Yeah.
And there are certainly services that need to be provided, but there's also a unique camaraderie in that group and some shared and very rich experiences that also come with it. But the tangible, vocal, and material support of our families is tenfold better than it was when I first started.
Yeah, I know that it has definitely grown over the years. That's awesome. How best can the Vandal family or the American family support our military folks and their families, the folks who serve and their families? What can we do? What's most helpful for those who serve?
Advocacy and recognition that they are doing something unique on behalf of our nation. It need not be some grand gesture, but when afforded the opportunity, speaking out in support of our military and for programs and policies that support them. Certainly something that everybody can do. Obviously, the occasional thank yous are certainly appreciated, but keeping an eye out for those things that support the military members. And then the other is being a voice for helping us find the right talent. And
Okay.
whether you've served or not, taking the time to understand the opportunities that the military presents and being able to put folks into the right direction if they would choose to consider this as a career. Helping them knock down barriers and get information
Mm-hmm.
to see if this is something that may be beneficial for them and may be a good fit.
So the thank you for your service isn't just a platitude; it is meaningful.
Absolutely is. Yeah, and I will tell you, I think it resonates a great deal, particularly with young folks who are just joining, to understand that the fact that they've made this decision is valued by their fellow citizenry.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. That's
Yeah.
very powerful.
I know we have several questions that have been submitted from our viewers, so I'm going to turn over to Christy. What have you got?
Okay, I first have a comment from Rick Sparks that he says he just wants to thank you for your service. And as a fellow Vandal from the same era, appreciate your call outs to Bruce Pittman, Jim Bauer, Mortz, and of course the Corner Club. Go Vandals. And I wouldn't expect anything less from Rick.
That's right.
Thanks much. It looks like we had some shared experiences there.
Yeah. Okay, and the next one is from Joseph. Over the course of your career, what individual accomplishments are you most proud of?
You box us in with respect to individual accomplishments. In this vocation, it's all about team. Leading in times of conflict, incredible teams has been uniquely rewarding. If you want to talk about individual accomplishments, and again, as a teamed one, probably the most rewarding and enduring is helping raise two amazing daughters. Couldn't be more proud of them, their accomplishments, and the futures that lie ahead of them. But if we're focusing on the chosen vocation, it's simply leading and having the opportunity to underwrite and knock down targets and provide a path for amazing teammates to accomplish things in the face of great challenge and adversity. That's it's fun to watch. It really is when you just set the conditions and environment. It's not necessarily about accomplishing things yourself, but setting the conditions for your teammates to run and to do what they do best, and then just watching them do it is really, really inspiring.
Great. Okay, second is from Ken Barrows. He says, my wife and I are both U of I geography grads who retired from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Please talk to the role human geography plays in prep for military involvement in combat activities or humanitarian assistance disaster relief. In the past, it seemed to be an afterthought. As you said earlier, I see it as foundational. It's a good question and a long one.
Yeah, in the past, it may well have been, but I'll tell you, we are tied in with your former organization very, very tightly. Even in my contemporary work, we have developmental and future programs where we are absolutely tied at the hip with emerging technologies and the application of those technologies in the pursuit of our military operations. And it's amazing, it's groundbreaking, and it's also quite humbling. But if we don't have understanding of what we are getting into, we can guarantee that we'll stumble in human conflict, in unknown places that are emergent, which is typically the case as conflicts arise. We have to have a foundational understanding of, again, place, terrain, impacts on military operations, the cultures that are there, their interests, their influence, what motivates them, where are our barriers in what we're thinking about, where are we pushing against each other and in conflict, in idea or interest. And geography provides that framework. And then you can get a little more technical and specific deliverables that portray that, so that we can understand and study in a coherent manner as we prepare for military operations or as things unfold while we're there. Those tools are really, really important. We've come a long way over the years. You know, it's not just a topographic map or an aerial photograph. There are very, very complex, valuable interactive tools that our intelligence community and your former agency help us produce. And most importantly, they listen and understand the challenges that we're having in the pursuit of our military operations and planning, and use their own initiative to produce new capabilities, new products, new approaches that inform us better and better every single day. So great teamwork, great collaboration, and I think now a very, very firm lash between the capabilities they provide and our operations.
Eric, can I ask a follow-up question to that? So
Sure.
it's one thing to have that information. How does having that additional information influence action? Does it give you an insight in how to do it? What's the impact of having that additional information?
I think probably the first thing is it causes you to ask more questions. Having some sort of a portrayal of what the ground, or again, the human dynamics on the ground look like, causes you to ask more questions and flesh out your understanding of the environment you're about to get into. It gives you a launching point for asking things like, what if, or what do we not know here, or what does that look like, or if I did this, what kind of a reaction could I expect? Sometimes if you're using interactive tools, you can actually do some modeling.
Nice.
And run things through, or you can bring in outside sources, and we call it wargaming. You can challenge one another. If you don't have a model specifically that you're crunching something into, then you can have folks play roles, and they're using their foundational understanding or expertise, in that specific area. They can counter your actions and give you a better understanding of where the weaknesses are in your approach or your plan, so that you can make adaptations and adjustments to it.
Right. Fascinating. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt there. Christy, what you got?
Okay, this is from Professor Ray Desani from the College of Science and the former chair of geography. Could you ask General Peterson about the ongoing interactions between academic research and the improvements in the military?
Ray, thanks much for that, and good to have you up on the net here today. We are tightening our relationships with academia quite a bit, both in the modernization realm as well as in leadership and in our pursuits of military planning and actions. Academia's rich underpinning and foundation in cultures, in business, in politics, provide a whole bunch of opportunities and venues for us, for military planners and leaders to stretch their minds a little bit, continue the lifelong learning, challenge their assumptions, enrich their depth of understanding of certain areas and regions by reaching into that, as well as help us really, really push the envelope when it comes to technological developments. There are expanding relationships with academia that are being formalized even as we speak. A good chunk of those right now are focused on modernization and technologies, but we do reach into academia and forums to pull in specialized expertise as we examine certain regions, emerging conflict areas. And I've participated in that personally several times over the years, where we're looking at a potential challenge on the horizon, and we realize we have kind of holes in our own swing. And the first place that we'll look is we'll start to scan the horizon of academia, papers, articles, and so on, and try to pool folks who are willing to share with us.
Great, thank you. This is from my friend Dan Button. What are the greatest stresses on and challenges facing our military as a whole right now?
Well, over the past, decade and a half plus, for portions of our military, it's been the operational tempo. We've, particularly in the Army, We've had substantial commitments in some pretty challenging places of the world. And for those particularly who are attempting to make the military a career, they've seen multiple deployments back to back to back over a period of many years. And that wears on not only the soldiers, but the families as well. So that if you want to look at a chronic challenge, it's the operational tempo, not just in conflict areas, but in places where we have competition as well and need to have enduring presence away from home. Then you put on top of that our commitments here in the homeland with our multi-compo military, our Guard and Reserve. You don't see a natural disaster where our Guard and Reserve aren't employed. Floods, fires, hurricanes, sadly civil unrest, but those are all demands placed on a relatively small military, and gets a little bit trying. If we want to talk about more emergent challenges, I think we're going to see some real hurdles with respect to fiscal constraints in the near future. Our nation is facing an unforeseen outlay of many trillions of dollars to deal with this COVID pandemic. And in concert with that, the economic downturn results in a significant decrease in revenues through tax revenues. So our expenditures are going through the roof as a nation, and our income as a nation is dropping precipitously, and it's all happened inside of a year.
Wow.
At some point, we have to reconcile that, and across the board, we arguably have to have a little bit of belt tightening. And if you look at the way our nation appropriates resources, the military makes up arguably the largest portion of what's called the discretionary budget. So until we change entitlements and other things, if we choose to do that as a nation, we react by making adjustments within the discretionary budget, and DoD is the largest portion of that. So I think we will face some fiscal challenges. That becomes difficult to reconcile, if you will, when arguably risk in the face of aspiring near-peer competitors is growing. So some tough challenges for our nation's leadership as we move forward. The executive branch, our Congress, as well as appointed leadership within the DoD. So that's going to be the acute hurdle that I think we will face in the near term.
I think we have time for one more question, Christy, and then we'll move to wrapping up.
Okay, and I think I have a final one. So, and you kind of hit on it just there, but the question is, are there any concerns in the Pentagon with our readiness during the presidential transition as we come about the new transfer of presidency?
No immediate concerns about readiness during that period. I do believe, for one, speaking for myself, that the apolitical nature of our military is really, really important. And I believe that military leaders need to jealously protect that. It's part of our citizenry's trust that in the military, that we don't get involved in partisan squabbles, period. Just don't. Full stop. That's it. Your military, your nation's military is calm, steady, ready. That's it.
Yeah.
Period. And we swear an oath to the Constitution, and we will follow the lawful orders of those appointed over us. It's pretty straightforward, and it shouldn't change. And we, through our actions, should never undermine that. And I think we're in pretty damn good stead.
Yeah.
Right now.
That just gave me the goosebumps.
So I think it's really, really vital that we stay that way, and we should never let that falter. And I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of that. So yeah, let no foe think that they can take advantage of the United States of America during our traditional transitions, peaceful transitions of power. We know how to do this. We do it all the time, and nobody's taking their eye off the ball. So
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Actually, I see one more question in the chat that I want to make sure we address from Mr. Garcia. How do we reduce spending without hindering operational effectiveness? And if you can figure that out, I know a whole university community that would love the answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me give you my direct number to my office, because that is precisely what our portfolio is here in Army GA. And it's about making choices, balance, cost benefit, and communicating risk to senior leadership, not just uniformed military leadership, but civilian leadership, to members of Congress, to the executive branch, and doing so objectively and unemotionally. That's our job. So in simple terms, trying to get back to your specific question, how do we do it? Very carefully. You don't get something for nothing. So anytime you reduce resources, you will lose something proportional to that. But we can balance things. Sometimes that's risk over time that we amortize, and sometimes it's risk that's absorbed, immediately. But those are the types of calculus, not unlike a business, that we engage in, day out. And then we communicate the risk or the cost of that to our leadership for decisions. So we are very ready now. We are very capable. We are very modern. We can always strive to be more ready. We can always strive to be more modern. And we have to balance that against our objective assessment of threats on the horizon and the interests of our nation and how we want to wield this element of power, of national power. Very specifically, we look for opportunities for efficiencies. We are a large bureaucracy. We are not the most efficient. So often, marginal reductions can be absorbed by simply doing things better or differently. And we certainly look for those opportunities to glean efficiencies within our own ranks, our programs and approaches, to minimize the impact where the rubber meets the road. But at some point, we can't absorb that by just moving the deck chairs around from the Titanic. So I appreciate the question, and it's a challenging business. And if you've got some insights or ideas, I'm very sincere about the phone number, and Kathy can pipe you in directly to me, or Brad, or any number of the teammates out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. So I want to make sure that we leave the general with some time for a last word. So we're going to do our drawing right now. And if y'all help me with a little drum roll here. Our winner tonight is Trudy Anderson, and she'll be receiving the $50 Vandal store gift card from Payne West Insurance. So congratulations, Trudy. I know you've joined us for several of these, so I'm glad that you had a chance to win. In closing tonight, I first want to say a sincere thank you to my friend, Major General Erik Peterson, and really every member of our military. for their service to the country and really for preserving the freedoms that we all enjoy and confessions sometimes take for granted. So it's a good time to remember and to say thank you. And I just want to give you a chance, Eric. What thoughts do you have to share this Veterans Day time of year?
Again, Kathy, I can't thank you and your team enough for the opportunity to talk to some friends and kind of reconnect with my Vandal roots here. It's been a great opportunity to come back to the campus a little bit over the last several years, and each and every time I break out onto the Palouse, kind of warms my heart. As we approach Veterans Day, a couple of quick thoughts. Our nation has an amazing and rich history of service. Since the beginning of our military, we're getting ready to open the National Museum of the United States Army. Fascinatingly, we've not had one till this point, but over 45 million Americans have served in our military in one fashion or another since 1775, since we stood up our formal recognized American military. 45 million since 1775. Today, our best estimates in trolling the VA is that we have about 17 million living veterans from all of the conflicts and time of service, but 17 million right now. We often focus Veterans Day on the lost, and that sacrifice should absolutely be honored. When our nation's military is placed in harm's way, we need to recognize and understand the toll that it takes, and we should never, ever, ever forget that. But the vast majority of our veterans come home, some with burdens, but most enriched, changed, well adapted, and armed with incredible experiences. They're driven, they're well organized, they overcome adversity, they can lead, and they're contributing to our communities everywhere. They're captains of industry, they're leaders in our businesses. They're raising their hand and contributing to their local communities, and recognizing the value of our veterans in our communities and reaching out to them for those experiences, for that strength, is something that I challenge everybody to think about. Call your veterans out when you know that they're around. They have a lot to offer, and sometimes maybe they're just waiting to be asked, but they have some incredible skills, regardless of the service or the time that they served. But there are foundational experiences that they all have that allow them to thrive in leadership environments, contribute locally, contribute nationally. And I think recognizing that can be very, very helpful. And understanding and thanking them, yes, absolutely. But I think one of the other ways that you can really thank a vet is challenge them to step up and bring to bear what they have to offer, and give them the opportunities to lead and thrive and contribute.
Perfect message. Perfect message for this time. And thank you again. So wonderful to spend time with all of you. Thanks to all of you who have joined us. It's great to see so many familiar faces. I wish you all the happiest of happy Thanksgivings. I hope you stay safe and comfortable with your loved ones. And as always, go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
Thank you so much.
Go Vandals. Thanks again, team. It's great.
Go Vandals.
Friends.
Thank you.
And stay on and visit if you want. Zoom doesn't charge us by the minute, so.
Hey, General Peterson. I just want to thank you for your continued service, but also acknowledge your number one accomplishment that you shared with us all, which is your two daughters. That's no small task, given your pedigree and your accomplishments serving our nation so long and so hard, frankly. And to be able to, and I know you didn't do that without a little help, okay? But I think that's a wonderful acknowledgement. The other thing is, I just want to share that behind Jason Neerman, if he's still on, but behind Jason Neerman's, his backdrop was, and he humbly didn't mention it, but is 315 small American flags that have been placed up on the admin lawn. Maybe you've already been clued into that. I hope so, but that's for the wreath laying ceremony scheduled for this Wednesday up there at 1100. And we're really pleased and excited, everybody, to have President Green joining everybody this year, as well as Don Burnett as the guest speaker. So that's just a little pitch and a plug for no matter how cold it is, or even if we get snow flurries, hopefully we'll see a lot of folks there. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Dan. And the team gave me a little rundown on what they had planned when I made it up there a couple of weeks ago to visit the campus. And challenging conditions, but it doesn't matter. The team adapted, and regardless of the challenging conditions, has taken the opportunity to recognize the commitment and service, and the U of I's amazing legacy of service is something to be proud of. It gets back to that land grant university roots. That's why we were built. So.
General Peterson, this is Jeff Segmiller. I just wanted to publicly thank you. You and I had met once, and you heard about my son who was serving in Afghanistan, and shortly thereafter, there was an unfortunate event that occurred in my son's platoon, and you took it upon your own initiative to call Afghanistan and check out on my son, and I appreciate that, and it meant a lot. So thank you.
And no, that was absolutely my humble honor to do that. The brotherhood is strong, and those kind of connections are really important. And I think there's some congratulations due as well. I think either now or soon to be a freshly minted captain.
Yep, just recent. Yes.
Yeah. Please pass on my congratulations to him. Thanks.
I'll do that. Thank you.
And Jeff, if I may, hats off to you and the whole your WWAMI program, and the way that you and the team pivoted to leverage some of your initiatives to contribute to the state's response to this pandemic. I mean, absolutely humbling, and wicked proud of you guys.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing, and candidly, I think when we write the after action review on this, I think you're going to have some things to share with the entire nation, if not the world. So hopefully you guys are keeping your notebooks on this.
Well, we hired the right people and let them do their job, so that's the beauty of it.
All right.
Hey, John, how are things out there in Maggie Creek?
Little brisk this morning. First snow of the year over the weekend, but good, really good. When are you coming out west again?
Yeah, not soon enough. Yeah, I made a short trip out to Moscow, and then went and saw my folks briefly a couple weeks ago. But Yeah, I'll definitely, I'll get out here soon. I need to come see you in the wild, especially since you got rid of all the facial hair.
Yes, do that. Do that. We'll get our friends over the hill over here too. And we'll relive some old times that we didn't relive this evening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate your discretion, by the way.
Hey, Eric, this is Jeff and Kim.
Hey, how are you?
Good, brother. Thanks for
Yeah,
your service, man.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, it's always dangerous to go into a forum like this where you have eyewitnesses from your younger days. You never know how that's going to unfold.
My
Especially
wife
those that
made me
have-
a better person tonight.
That's right. Thank you, Kim.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
especially those that have photographic evidence, even before digital cameras.
Jeff reminded me yesterday that you were the first person to recognize that we had gotten engaged.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That was a minute ago.
Yeah, that was 2 minutes ago. Yeah, wow.
Good to see you, Eric.
No, absolutely. It's great to catch up a little bit and have old friends on here. So for the rest of the gang out there, these are some of my closest Galt teammates. We had some very formative experiences together as youngsters.
You know, I did think about piping up when you were talking about your summer experience on the glacier. That's one of my fondest memories of you is when you came to Moscow that fall and fresh off the glacier, and how excited you were and motivated and fired up and passionate about what you've done that summer. That stuck with me my whole life, and I know you've carried that through your career, and it's just really incredible.
Yeah, and I'll always appreciate the fact that you rescued me when whoever it was that was scheduled to be your roommate up there didn't show up, and you offered a handout to somebody who was living down in Sardine City. Yeah, so for the team out there, I talked about being a little slow and reluctant in my application, and to take it one step further, I completely failed to do anything about dorms, housing, any of that. Kind of just went right past me. So when I showed up to the U of I after spending the summer on the Juneau ice field, I had no place to live. But thankfully, student housing had a plan for that, and we called it Sardine City. But it was a common area of Galt Hall that was just stacked with bunks a few feet apart. And there were 15 or 20 of us in there that were just waiting for something to happen or to figure out what we wanted to do with our lives. But I had a backpack, a duffel bag, and a bunk, and in Galt Hall, and no room, no nothing. I had to work on it. And at some point, several weeks into it, John's roommate or whoever was scheduled to have his room didn't show, canceled, whatever. And we'd kind of gotten to know each other there in my temporary living experiences in Galt. And he volunteered for me to potentially be his roommate, and he kind of threw me a lifeline. So I'll never forget that. But
You're a saint,
turned out to be a
John.
good fit.
You're a saint, John.
Hmm.
Hey,
Folks,
Eric
you know
and
what?
John, I have to say a quick hello. It's Julie Holden.
Hi, Julie. Great to see
Hi.
you.
Wow.
Good to see you.
Great to see you too.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have a few pictures maybe, but you guys probably do too. So we'll just quit, right? No, good to
Oh, my
see you.
goodness.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, where are you?
In Boise.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, unlike Eric and I, you haven't
Look
aged
me up
today.
LinkedIn or something. It'd be great to catch up.
That would be. We should. What'd you say, John?
I said, unlike Eric and I, you haven't aged today.
A few.
Folks, I hate to be a party pooper, but Zoom is going to kick us off here any moment now. So I'm going to say my goodbyes and thank yous. And Eric, again, just really, really appreciate your time. Thank you, my friend.
It was wonderful. Thanks again for you and the team setting this up, Kathy.
Thank you, Eric.
It's a great opportunity. So
You bet. Take care, everyone.
take care, friends. Thanks much.
Okay.
Have a great evening.
Adios.
Bye, everyone.